One. Hello, welcome to Retro Cheese Review, where I force my friends and loved ones to watch cheesy movies with me. With me today again is my wife, Felicia. Felicia, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. So today we will be reviewing the movie Silver Bullet, a Stephen King classic out of 1985. This movie actually stars the amazing Corey Haim as a child, rest in peace, and the absolutely terrifying Gary Busey, who is not the bad guy in this.
He's the
Um,
most terrifying part of the movie, though. Let's be
yeah.
completely honest with ourselves.
It's a werewolf movie that you know that the entire time you're watching it that werewolf better not fuck around with Gary Busey, because Gary Busey would just drunkenly end his shit. Um,
Facts.
he is in this movie, in my opinion, playing the role he was born to play, the drunk uncle. Um, Gary Busey is America's drunk uncle, and one day someone was like, you know what? Let's just cast him as an alcoholic uncle. I really don't think they gave him a script. I don't know. It's there's not an actual like book. It was based loosely on a short story called like Cycles of the Werewolf. So I mean, I've read Cycles of the Werewolf. So I really don't know if there's any way of knowing if they actually gave Gary Busey a script. In my mind, I like to think that they didn't. That they just got him really loaded and had some dude in a werewolf suit scare the shit out of him and just let Gary Busey be Gary Busey.
That's kind of my guess. I don't think they gave him cocaine. I think it was just purely alcohol. I feel
Yeah,
like,
Busey's a booze man.
yeah, I feel like cocaine would cause him to like really get super duper fucked up and really lash out. But he just seemed like he was like, I don't know where I'm at, but they're paying me like $5 an hour to, to do this weird ass shit. I don't know, man.
That entire family's entire acting ability is just on that, toothy, crazy ass grin that they have. Him and Jake Busey, the most
I I
terrifying
gotta say,
smiles in
I'm
the
a little
business.
jealous, of the fact that they have such distinct smiles that it's kind of cool. It's creepy, but it's cool. A lot of people actually pay good money to try to get their smiles to be that big and bright with veneers and whatnot. I'm not saying that I would necessarily want to smile like that, but I mean, if they offered,
Yeah.
maybe. I
It's the
wouldn't mind
weird
being a creeper.
it's the weird thing about the Busey smile is you're both frightened by Gary Busey but would love to go out and have a beer with him.
Absolutely.
So, diving in first, we have our Rotten Tomatoes review of this, which I'm going to go ahead and just share this screen here. And you can see that we have the Rotten Tomatoes review. So, critics gave this movie a 41%. The audience gave it a 56%.
That's not
Um,
bad.
Getting into kind of my nostalgia review, I am a sucker for cheesy Stephen King movies, the old ones. Um, this isn't my favorite. It is up there. It is probably one of the first horror movies my parents ever let me see. I would give it, let's be realistic here. I'm not gonna give it like a 6 out of 5 or anything. Even as a nostalgia, I would give this like a 4 out of 5. I love it. But there are better Stephen King movies out there. That being said, the cheese factor of Gary Busey, the crazy werewolf and all that stuff kind of sets it for me is what really made me want to give it a rewatch compared to some of the other Stephen King classics. This one I feel like is kind of an overlooked classic.
See,
Um,
that's a little surprising considering like how often you talk about this movie. I mean, granted, you're just referencing it. You're not saying it's particularly good, but I would think that would be a little bit higher given the number of times that you're consistently referencing not just any Stephen King movie, but Silver Bullet specifically. And uh, if you're referencing Gary Busey, you are more or less referencing Silver Bullet.
I think it's the insanity of Gary Busey and that it's two things. It was the first real horror movie I was able to see. Um, and then the second thing really being that I think that this is an underappreciated movie. Most
That's
of
fair.
Stephen King's movies, which there are better ones, everyone knows about. Like everyone knows about The Shining. Everybody knows about It. Everybody knows about The Stand, you know, the miniseries. Not a lot of people talk about Silver Bullet. Part of it's that it's very loosely based on a Stephen King short story, but it's still a good classic horror movie. Now, that being said, I can't remember. Have you seen this movie when you were a kid or not in the past?
I mean, I think I saw bits and pieces, but I think you were the one who told me to watch it a few years ago, and I remember watching it, and I mean, it's your standard 80s horror film. I didn't think it was anything particularly special, but I think most of what I remember from it, truthfully, is from everything that you've talked about. Like, you talk about this movie all the goddamn time. And I don't know why. You just get super hyper fixated on specific movies, and that just happens to be one of them. So, I mean, I guess if I was to rate it, I'd probably say about 5 out of 10. Not the worst movie I've ever seen, but I mean, definitely filled with 80s cheese. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's completely fair. So kind of getting into the plot of this movie, it is your classic, you know, werewolf horror movie, but there are definitely a few things. I think one of my favorite things in this movie, Corey Haim plays a handicapped child. You know, he's, you know, stuck in a wheelchair. His parents, his sister, everyone kind of treats him as such, except for his uncle, you know, Gary Busey. It's kind of that classic story that he's bonded with his uncle despite his uncle's flaws. I mean, you get, like, scenes like, you know, I'm going to go ahead and share this one, you know.
Like, you're one of the good ones.
Like, you know, he's going up there, and, you know, his mom's like, and he's like winking at him, be like, hey, kid, you're a cool kid and all, you know. And despite the fact that, you know, his uncle, you know, his mom doesn't want him around his uncle because his uncle's an alcoholic, you know. But he, you know, because here we go, like, as soon as the kid gets upstairs, yeah, just chug that goddamn whiskey. But, you know, in spite of his flaws, he loves his, you know, nephew, and he treats his nephew like he's not less than for being, you know, handicapped. Cool things that are very 80s. He creates badass motorized wheelchairs for his nephew. It leads to some of the coolest scenes in the movie. You get, like, a chase scene where the werewolf, who's a priest for some reason, is, like, trying to, like, kill him in his car instead of in werewolf form. Most inefficient werewolf ever. Like, he literally, like, he's, like, driving.
What a fucking dumbass.
But then, like, look at this kid. Look at this fucking wheelchair. Look at, like, this wheelchair. Literally, like, I just had hip surgery, and I want a fucking wheelchair like this. Like,
I mean, I didn't have hip surgery, and I want a fucking wheelchair like that. Everybody wants one. It's fucking
it's outrunning a 1980s car. Do you know how much you have to do? Like, check this shit out. Okay. That's enough of that bullshit. But the point is, I mean, you know, Gary Busey, you know, he designs this kid, you know, this awesome fucking wheelchair.
Despite him being an alcoholic, like, he's pretty goddamn brilliant.
Yeah, he's a very
maybe he did have a little bump of coke.
He's a very handy alcoholic. So the movie, you know, you've got, like, you know, this priest is going around as a werewolf killing everybody. Everyone just thinks animals are tearing up. The kid figures out it's the priest because he shoots a goddamn firework in the werewolf's eye. Because all these adults with, like, shotguns and everything, they can't do shit to this werewolf. But as soon as he tries to attack this wheelchair-ridden kid shoots him in the eye with a fucking Roman candle. No, it's a bottle rocket. And then, like, his sister finds out later, you know, because he tells his sister that he shot the werewolf in the eye. So his sister goes around, like, lo and behold, the fucking priest, you know, has an eye patch now, and the sister's like, oh shit, it's the priest, you know. Who would have thought a Catholic priest is a bad guy?
What?
Not gonna touch that one. But, like, you've got, like, the priest kind of also struggling with being a werewolf once they do that reveal. Like, he feels guilty about it, but then he starts to, like, almost be like, well, I'm here to kill the sinners. Like, it even has, like, this really awkward freaking dream sequence here, like, where the priest's having this dream. Like, he just killed that dude's kid. He just murdered that dude's kid. And then that's, like, he's just got this weird, yeah.
Do you think that this was, like, an allegory for, like, the sexual abuse of the Catholic Church?
I really don't think it was, Felicia. This was the 1980s. I don't think that they I don't think that really was a thing yet.
I
But
don't know. I mean, Catholicism.
I mean,
has
it
been
was a
around for
thing, but I
long
don't think
time.
we talked about it yet.
It's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's like swept it under the rug. So, like, again, this is all happening. The kid's best friend literally gets torn apart, and, like, Corey Haim's character, and he's kind of bummed about it. He's not that sad. But then
That's a bummer.
they cancel the goddamn fireworks show. And like any kid, he would be like, "Listen, you can kill my best friend, but don't you fucking cancel the fireworks show."
I mean, I understand that. I feel
Yeah.
that. If I was a kid, I mean, I was a kid at one point. As a kid, I would have been like, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck my friends, fireworks. That's what led to the scene where he shoots the priest, with the eye with the bottle rocket. Him and his sister start sending the priest notes saying "kill yourself." Literally, they're like, well, you're a werewolf. Why don't you just fucking kill yourself? And that's when the priest tries to murder him with his car. They end up finally convincing, Gary Busey, the uncle, hey, can you go to and get a silver bullet? Leads to this grizzled old man who's like a freaking ammunition maker that makes it, and he makes it for a goddamn 44 Magnum revolver, and the ammunition maker is just like, what you making this for, to kill a werewolf? And he's not joking, meaning for some reason nobody in the town knows that werewolves exist, and this grizzled old ammunition maker is just like, yep, you needed a silver bullet and I made this one that's definitely gonna
What
kill
is
a
it with
werewolf.
old
What, howdy?
grizzled people? I feel like there's an old
Stephen
grizzled guy
King Stephen King loves the trope, the
Do you
wise
think that
old
It
man.
was something that he aspired to be as he got older.
I don't think that
he
you
wanted
should.
to become an old grizzled man, because his one in pretty much every single Stephen King movie, and if it's not an old grizzled man, it's like it's an old grizzled woman.
I think that there is
thinner.
no way, and probably film students would argue with this, I think there is no way to logically break down Stephen King's writings, because he was really fucking high on acid every time that he...
That's true.
There's no real way to break it down, because I think it would be a psychological study of his acid trips.
He was on a lot of drugs.
And to be fair, not encouraging the use of acid, but Stephen King, everything you've wrote since you've gotten clean has sucked. Everything.
You're basically encouraging
Everything since you've gotten clean has sucked. Your last book that I even know of, Under the Dome, is a ripoff of Big O, which is a bad anime series. Take acid again so that we can have good books. That's my Stephen King spiel.
Does that mean that I should take acid, Trev?
No. Only Stephen King gets to drop acid. All of the world's supply. We need our cheesy, horror books.
But don't you want my cartoons to be better? If I take acid, or I take cocaine.
Stephen King without acid is R.L. Stein.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a burn.
Yeah. Have you read his most recent stuff? This is getting a little bit off topic anyway.
Are you talking about R.L. Stein, or are you talking about Stephen King?
Yes.
I've never really read Stephen King, to be perfectly honest. I know that you used to read him as a kid. All I know is that there were some movies that came out. I think there was one with Idris Elba that came out.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Years ago, and people were saying it was.
It was based on The Gunslinger, which is based on The Dark Tower, which is after he stopped taking LSD, and it is absolute trash.
What was that book written anyway?
The 90s or 2000s. It was after he became
I don't
clean.
know.
It wasn't good. You get you get Cycles of the Werewolf, you get The Stand, and then you get crap like Under the Dome, where he fell asleep watching Big O probably and just ripped off the plot.
Do you think that we should tweet at him, hey, Stephen King, you need to do drugs again,
I've thought about it. But either way, we're getting completely off topic. So, werewolf movie.
I think it's funny on topic.
So werewolf movie that he wrote while still on drugs. Just a note, kids, not encouraging LSD use unless you want to be a great horror writer. Yeah, wink, wink. So you get to the best 1980s werewolf transformation scenes. This one, for some reason, he beats the guy to death. He's a werewolf, but he beats the guy to death with a baseball bat. No idea why. It's still metal as fuck.
It is.
Look at how I love 80s horror movie, like, killing scenes and stuff, how cheesy they can be. Like, you get some classic scenes like that, but you getting through the movie, you kind of get, like I'd mentioned, they believe, like Gary Busey believes, the kid, he believes Corey Haim, that the priest is after him and might be a werewolf. They stay up all night of the full moon, because they're like, Corey Haim's like, I think the reason he hasn't killed me yet is because he's afraid of me. Like, he kills the sheriff and everything, but he's afraid of the kid because the kid fucked him up last time. So he's waiting until he's at his full power, the full moon. Because in this one,
fucking wheelchair, man.
Yeah, because in this one, he can turn into a werewolf every night, but he's at higher power based on, like full werewolf based on, when he's, the moon. And it might be a guilt thing because it's like when he's full werewolf, he won't feel guilty about murdering a kid. So they stay, like, Gary Busey buys the silver bullet. He's loaded the gun.
I love that we're just referring to Gary Busey as Gary Busey.
I don't know these characters. I don't know these characters' fucking names. I didn't bother to remember them. It's it's Corey Haim, Gary Busey, and the annoying sister that's the narrator. So Gary Busey, buys some tickets to some bullshit to get the parents out of the house. Offers to babysit. He's babysitting them. They're staying overnight. They stay up all night, and then finally he's like, you know what? This was all bullshit because it's like middle of the night. He's like, he's not coming. You guys convinced me there was a goddamn werewolf. And as soon as he says that, the werewolf shows up. Gun gets knocked out of the hand. Somehow the goddamn the werewolf knocks him across the room, but Gary Busey's completely fine because he's Gary Busey. But somehow, like, the bullet flies out of the revolver. The kid has to, like, fish it out of an air vent. He gets it, and then the one fucking kid in a goddamn wheelchair, literally is the one that shoots the werewolf.
It's a modified fucking badass wheelchair, though.
And in a 44 like, a little kid handles a 44 Magnum. That thing kicks like a bear. And not only that, everyone that's shot at this werewolf has missed. He shoots him right in the other fucking eye. So his one good eye, the kid shoots him. That kid has the best fucking aim ever. And then it just kind of ends.
Power, duh.
It just kind of ends with, because the sister clearly as an adult's the narrator and is like, I learned to love my brother, and it's all like happy family. Is that about accurate in terms of plot? I'd like kind of your breakdown of it.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I think I was kind of half watching it. I want to say that the breakdown was pretty on point for the most part. And by half watching it, I mean I think I was in the middle of drawing because I think somebody else was technically supposed to review it.
Yeah, originally.
But they didn't. Yeah, so.
You know who you are.
So I'm more or less gathering up what I can remember of it, and I think that's essentially the best breakdown that you can give in like under 5 minutes. I don't think anybody else really
definitely wasn't under 5 minutes.
Or whatever. I mean, I guess if you're talking about just the plot synopsis, is probably about 5 minutes. All things considered, not talking about the Catholic Church and not talking about Gary Busey and all of his weird ass problems. I think in general, I think it was a good breakdown. It was kind of your standard werewolf movie. I don't think there was anything particularly unique about it, at least in my opinion. Except for
the bond between uncle and nephew was the unique part.
Well, no, that actually right. I think that was essentially what drew people in, was kind of the bond between Corey Haim and Gary Busey, the Chiclet Man.
And as I've said before, having a child or teenager as the protagonist and watching it as your child or teenager makes it a more special for the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
At least when I was watching it as a kid. Because, No, you go ahead. Yeah, because, having a protagonist you can identify with. Now, I can't identify with this protagonist completely because, 1, I'm not Corey Haim, and 2, I'm not in a wheelchair. But we can identify, all of us with the fact that he's a child. No. We can all identify with the fact that he's, he's a kid, he's growing up, he's going through, his own struggles, and we can all identify with having that one uncle, that Gary Busey.
Now, if I had to choose I don't even, it's not a movie, it's a miniseries, but The Stand is probably my favorite, just because there's such a colorful cast of characters.
The original miniseries, by the way.
Right. And I'll never forget that
Fuck any remakes that they've recently made.
That was it. Bill Falkerbach. I forgot how you pronounce his name. Basically, Patrick Starr goes M-O-N. That
Yeah.
spells Booker. I don't know.
Yeah, and then you've got I always forget his name. I don't know why. It's the bad guy from Wayne's World. Rob Lowe.
Lowe?
Yeah, you've got
Yeah.
Rob Lowe in it, and he's amazing. Yeah, no, like The Stand. We're not going to review The Stand because it's not cheesy enough. I mean, goddamn. Plus, I
That's
really
true.
don't want to have to watch like 12 hours. I remember my mom had because The Stand wasn't a movie; it was a miniseries, and it
Miniseries.
was.
Yeah, and I
it
watched
took
all the books over
four
my
fucking
Bernie.
VHSs. 4 VHSs. I read that book when I was like 8 because my grandmother had all of Stephen King's books. And when I would stay over, it was literally that or like The Pinball Machine or Lincoln Logs. So I would read all of her Stephen King books.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall good movie. I mean, not the best movie in the world, but I mean, I think what makes it so memorable is the fact that Gary Busey just has this crazy man presence, like the kind of presence like that makes you a little uneasy. It's like you're a nice guy, but I feel like you could probably kill me at any time.
Yeah, he's got nervous energy.
Yeah.
Every
yeah,
time
he
he's on
does.
screen, you're every single role that he has ever been in, and everything he has like you're nervous every time he's on screen.
Right. Like
So-
you feel like he's just going to just something is going to snap in his brain, and he's just going to be like, well, I'm going to shoot up the school now. I'm going to shoot up everybody.
Yeah, no,
It's weird. It's a weird nervous energy.
he's a 50-50. Like there's a coin flip when you're like talking to him whether he's gonna like give you like $100 for no reason and give you a hug, or just like beat the shit out of you for no reason.
Pretty much.
It's like watching a goddamn caged tiger. So like
We're such
what?
assholes.
Given your like rewatch review, and if you're seeing this, I love you, Gary Busey. By the way, he knows what he is. He'll never see this. Given your rewatch, is it the same rating, or would you give it a different rating?
I'd say it's about the same rating, honestly. I mean, I don't really feel one way or another about it, except for the fact that I think I appreciate it for what it is and what it was. It was a cheesy horror movie, but that was based off of a writer that is critically acclaimed. He's still alive to this day, and he still has a major impact on society. I just take it for what it is. He wrote
Even though his books suck now.
He was very prolific, and he wrote a lot of stuff. So when you write that much stuff, some stuff is gonna be great, and some.
I don't
stuff
blame him
isn't.
for getting clean. Honestly, the guy can retire, and his tweets are funny. If you ever follow Stephen King on Twitter, I would say oddly enough with the rewatch, most of the time with movies like this, it gets lower because of nostalgia. I would rate it a little bit higher. I don't know if I appreciated it as a kid for what it was. Some of the intricacies and everything in it, I actually really enjoyed. There's the cheesiness of the 80s effects and everything, but the actual writing is really,
It really
good.
wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah. Well, that being said, I'm gonna give it my probably my lowest rating that I've given any of these movies, but still a good one. 5 out of 5 cheeses.
So that's a really high rating, no?
That's a low rating for me, but it's still high. I'm saying it's still 5.
Do we even have a specific rating system? Because
No.
what did you rate the Power Rangers episode? I don't even remember. Like
It was like an 11
10
out
out
of
of
4 or something stupid. I don't know. There's no really good rating system on here because I just don't give a fuck about that. You guys can go and watch the movie and see for yourselves. Well,
That's fair.
with that, I'm going to go ahead and say like and subscribe. Leave a comment with any suggestions of what other movies you'd like to see us review. Bye, everyone.
bye.